Hey, church. My name is Roy Nzunza, and I serve as an organizational consultant for A.E. Sloan and a corporate chaplain, and sometimes you see me playing the drums behind the fishbowl. Today's passage is 1 Corinthians 10:13, and Paul says to the church, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so you can endure it." Now, I know many have used this passage in the past to offer pastoral comfort when people are bearing heavy burdens, and I believe it's appropriate to some extent to do that from a pastoral theology perspective. However, for today's current sociological, religious, and political climate, the historical and biblical context of this passage, it's a little weightier, and it speaks to our call to follow King Jesus above all forms of idolatry. Some background on this text: the city of Corinth was wealthy due to its trade commerce. It was well positioned to be an importer and exporter, controlling two major harbors connecting east and west commerce, creating a highly wealthy economy. It was also very loyal to Rome after Julius Caesar refounded it in 44 BC, most likely due to its strategic location. The city was repopulated by Roman citizens who brought culture, law, and religious cultic practices. The city also had many artisans and slaves, people who were on the margins that populated the city. So there was this disparity of wealth among the classes, and also a tension with Christ as king and local pagan worship. When we get to chapter 10, we find Pastor Paul addressing the church's stance on attending pagan temple practices involving eating and festivals. And so Paul gives them three warnings and judgments, and it's the third one that I'd like to focus on, and it's found in verses 10 and 11. He says, we should not test Christ, as some of them did. And then he says in verse 11, these things happened to them as examples and were written down as warnings for us, on whom the culmination of the ages has come. So if you think you're standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. Paul is offering this ethical, Christological response to the Church of Corinth's attitude that they had a right to engage in pagan meals, which included sexual infidelity. It is highly probable that these practices also included business dealings and political moves to gain power, all in this cultic pagan worship practice. The Church of Corinth felt they had a right to eat at the Lord's table and also at pagans' temples' festivals. Here's the punch. When Paul finally gets to verse 13, he is telling them that God will be faithful to them, helping them bear daily burdens, but also will be faithful to them as they flee from idolatry. If they don't test God, he will be faithful. But if they test God by engaging their perceived rights, then God will judge them in his faithfulness. When we are tempted to give our allegiance away to other forms of power, God has made an eternal commitment to continue inviting us back to the Lord's table where he is King and Lord. This lordship calls us to subordinate our politics, finances, and relationships to the one true King. It is a hard word, but one that comes with healing and wholeness as we lay down our current day idols. We know we are falling prey to idols, and we are less concerned about the poor and marginalized when we are more determined to hold on to power through violence, through our values, our attitudes, and behaviors. May we continue to give our lives away.